After Zelda was released, it was only natural that everyone wanted more, and the players were eager to see what Miyamoto had in store next. In August of 1999, it was made clear that there were two separate projects in the works. There was Zelda, which was a 64DD expansion to Ocarina of Time that would add content to the game such as extra quests and new areas. And there was Zelda Gaiden, a new game based on the Ocarina of Time engine, but offered the player a whole new story to explore. During the wait, fans were searching every inch of the game for any undiscovered content. Pictures and tutorials began to appear all over the internet, with hidden temples, obtainable Triforce guides, and new areas. But in the end, this was all just a hoax, and only played into the hype that a new Zelda game was on the horizon. But Zelda Gaiden became Majora's Mask in North America, and Zelda, well, that's a whole nother story. It began in 1997 when Nintendo stated they were simultaneously working on Ocarina of Time and the 64DD version of the game. At this point, the game was in such an infantile stage that Miyamoto wasn't sure if it was going to be an add-on to Ocarina of Time or its own standalone game. After about a year of not hearing anything about the 64DD game, Miyamoto stated that Zelda was still in the works. He wanted to use Zelda as a way to incorporate any ideas that were cut from Ocarina of Time because of time restraints or other factors. The development of Zelda would silently progress, that is, until a press conference in 2000 where Miyamoto would once again bring up the game. Surprisingly, he said that the game was already done, and he even debunked some rumors about the game, saying that it didn't have online play. Because of the poor sales of the disc drive in Japan, its production was eventually halted. At this point, any hope of seeing Zelda released was lost. That was until late 2002 when Famitsu published an article stating that Zelda would be coming as a pre-order bonus to anyone who purchased the Wind Waker. Eventually, this was released as what we know today as the Master Quest. But this left a lot of people unsatisfied. Zelda was expected to have new dungeons, quests, and areas to explore. Since the Master Quest only featured rearranged dungeons, many fans felt that this wasn't truly the Zelda that was planned back in 2000. There are many theories on what may have happened. Some believe that the Master Quest is Zelda, but only a small portion of the game. Popular Zelda hacker ZethN64 showed us an example of tricking the game into thinking that Zelda was attached, and it had some very interesting results. When at the menu screen, a disk option appears next to the user's save game. When loading up the game, it begins to call for information that obviously isn't present since there's no actual Zelda attached. But it does make some modifications to the game that are not seen in the Master Quest. This changes things, like the color on the NPCs, and even adds some new enemy placements, such as these invisible redeads in the Shadow Temple that are not present in the final game or the Master Quest. The distortion seen here is supposedly caused by the game trying to load up animations off the Zelda disc, but fails to load them properly because there's no actual disc attached. Despite Miyamoto stating on multiple occasions that Zelda is the Master Quest, there are many people that still believe that this is simply not true. One of those people goes by the name of Nintendo Mad. Nintendo Mad was a frequent user of the forum assemblergames.com. He did extensive research on Zelda and was a very well-informed and well-regarded member of the community. But Nintendo Mad didn't just want information, he wanted a copy of the actual game. After searching for years, coming up empty-handed, mostly everyone assumed that it was pointless to keep going. That is until one day, when a thread regarding the game popped up on the forums. Nintendo Mad had apparently gotten his hands on an Zelda disc and created a thread about it. Shortly after the thread was opened, it was promptly closed. The thread's subject was edited to say that Nintendo was monitoring them. It seems any discussion of the thread was highly discouraged throughout the community. When trying to contact Nintendo Mad, there was no response to any inquiries. But after a little more research, I found this thread started by a friend of his. According to this user, Nintendo Mad, whose actual name was Richard, had unfortunately passed away. His last login date was August of 2009, and any details about the situation were very scarce. Fans may never know what Zelda truly was, but the release of the Master Quest did bring something to light that has been helping Zelda hackers to this day. And that would be the Debug Rom. The Debug Realm is a build of Ocarina of Time that developers used when bringing the Master Quest over to the GameCube. This ROM featured many options that gave the player much greater control over the game, and it contained many test areas, functions, and items that were not seen in the final game. But beyond all the discoveries that this ROM has led to, it's got its own little history that's definitely worth going over first. It's said that back when the idea of bringing the Master Quest and Ocarina of Time to GameCube was thought up, it wasn't feasible to port the games over, so the decision was made that an emulator was going to be created to run these games. Since the game was on such a tight schedule, it was in Nintendo's benefit to outsource to complete this project. Rather than sending the team the source code, they sent them a compiled debug ROM with all the features that were needed to test the emulator. After the emulator was completed, a copy of the debug ROM was given out to a friend of one of the developers, and after holding on to the ROM for about 2 years, this friend decided to share the ROM with a few more people who proactively decided to release it on a few small ROM sites. Fast forward to present time, and anyone who wants a copy of it pretty much has it. The Debug Realm is full of content that isn't found in the final game. It contains very early areas seen in promos, as well as many variations to final locations like the castle courtyard and many test maps used for multiple reasons. It also has many objects that are not found anywhere in the finished build and some very early animations. The Debug Realm is full of interesting data, but it also has been a driving force for Zelda hackers everywhere. The Zelda hacking community has been crucial to many discoveries within the game and are constantly doing new and interesting things that range from basic texture hacks to full-blown mods. One mod that's currently in development that's looking very impressive is from a group called Ura Project. This dedicated group of hackers have been working on creating their own version of Ura Zelda. This mod is on a massive scale and is adding tons of new quality content. The mod is promised to have a fully original soundtrack with tons of brand new characters, items, and areas to explore. If you want to see the progress on this mod, you can check out the link here. Ocarina of Time is full of secrets, whether it be inside the game itself or in its history. To this day, new discoveries are being made, and there's no telling what will be uncovered in the future. So, in conclusion, thanks for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed my little Zelda history lesson.